Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today, I want to talk to you about how I went from making $1,200 a month to my first month making $5,000, and how I did it and how it all came about. Okay. So basically, for a long time, I was actually stuck at making $1,200 a month. So this is when I was by myself or solo. I hadn't hired anybody yet. And I was just trucking along. And don't get me wrong, like $1,200 a month at that time was okay. I have a partner. I'm married. So like it definitely wasn't the only income in our household. But I will say, like, obviously I wanted to make more, I wanted to do more, I wanted to take more clients and so forth, because I did have gaps in my schedule and I could, allow more clients to come in. So I was definitely feeling a little lost. I was feeling, all the things that everybody feels when you're kind of knowing that you want to go to a different level in your business, but you just don't know how to do it. So I started looking around and obviously found lots of resources, started applying that knowledge. But the one thing that I will say that was true amongst like my business coach, books that they would read, things I would see online, or just any information I was willing to absorb, it was all about connection and your story. So connection is, how are you connecting with your ideal client? You know what I mean? And so that to me is one of the most important things that you can really focus on as a business owner, is like, what do I do? What am I good at? What am I known for? But how can I connect that to my ideal client in a way that that client's going to trust me right away, in a way that it's very easy for somebody to see what I'm about if they just clicked on my page or if they were just told about me from somebody else. What is it that connection is there, right? So like, we need to foster that connection as soon as possible when it comes to marketing, when it comes to speaking in person, when it comes to everything that you do with business. That connection with your client is vital for you to do anything in any realm, in any space, in any way to get what you want and to kind of further your career, right? So as soon as I figured out, okay, what am I good at? What am I known for? I was known for lashes. So I've done a lot of different things in my career. I've worn many hats as a service provider. I've worn many hats in the beauty industry. If you listen to my last episode, I'll tell you all about that part. But the one thing that is true, and I'm sure it's true for you too, listening, is you offer many services when you're a licensed professional in the beauty industry. But I was starting to carve my path of being known for lash extensions. So a lot of people, if they were talking about me or my services, they probably were speaking about my lash extensions. The one thing I will say is I set a reputation out there for being consistent. So people had consistent results every time they saw me. So every time they booked with me, I was consistently on time. Every time they were done with me, they loved their lashes. There's a consistency that I was able to deliver. And I made sure that was, every client felt it, okay? Because it's important for that to be something that people can rely on. But it was also about that connection, right? So I was able to foster those relationships and have those conversations with people because I was connecting with them. So I found out why people really got lashes done, why they really decided to book with me. What was the reason they were getting that service in the first place? And what did they want to feel during that service, right? And then what did they want to feel after that service? So there was a couple different things that I think are really important for you to kind of narrow in on, understand, and really have a good concept of, because These things are going to help you be a little bit more fluid as a business owner when it comes to not only conversations you're actually having with your client, but how you're attracting them into your business. So that connection matters, right? So, think about, why do clients actually get the service done that they're getting done? So there could be a really logical reason for that. So maybe they're going on vacation. So in my instance, maybe they're going on vacation and they just didn't want to have to think about their lashes, right? They wanted to just have an easy, carefree time, and the last thing they want to do is think about putting mascara on every day, or if they're going to a hot tropical place, or if they're just really busy, they have a lot of kids, what have you. So all of those things I just listed, those are ways that I can connect with my client. Those are ways that I can utilize to say, hey, are you going on your next vacation? Did you know that lash extensions last 3 to 4 weeks and they're really carefree? All you have to do is wash them, brush them, and go, right? So that's really quick way for me to attract clients in, to say, hey, I understand you. I know what you want to do on vacation. My service helps you. So there's a couple different ways you can connect when it comes to marketing that way. Obviously, connecting with them in person when they're actually with you is a huge one too, right? So, coming up with conversation pieces and having ways that you can interject things. So some of the things that I learned along the way was like how to have an opening conversation with your client. That's very important, of you driving that conversation. So, obviously it starts with, hi, how are you doing today? Like, oh, okay. And I always reiterate what people booked, especially newer clients. So it looks like you booked, lash extensions. It looks like we booked a classic lash extension set today. Is that correct? And they'll be like, oh yeah, da, da, da. And if they're a returning customer, this is your opportunity in that point to be like, do you want to do what we did last time? Were you happy with it? Do you want to change anything? This is an opportunity for them to come in and give you, anything. And you'd be surprised, because asking that question opens the door for your client automatically to say something, right? So if they have been feeling like, oh, I haven't really been happy with the shape, or I haven't been happy with the temperature, or whatever, there's all sorts of things that your client could find not a good experience, but sometimes they're really too scared to speak up. So it's your responsibility as a service provider to open that door for them to say, hey, I'm okay if you have any critique. I'm okay if you have feedback. I want to make sure that you're having the best service possible, because this is your time and this is your service. So make sure, if you're not asking that, to ask that. And I don't care how long your clients have been seeing you. I still ask that to my clients that come to me to this day, and they've been coming to me for, 13 years. So, there's different things that you need to think about as a service provider, but connection after that point. So let's say you're like connecting during your consultation, you get them all settled in, how are you connecting with them? Whether it be, giving them exactly what they want during their service. Maybe they want a quiet service. So maybe that's not something they want to do, is chat. That's connection. Okay. So connection doesn't always have to mean we have to have these deep conversations, or I have to talk about a topic that only they care about. Connection can be like, I understand you and I understand why you want this time, and I want to make you comfortable. Okay. But think about also, if you do have a client that wants to talk and wants to chat, connect with them by asking them open-ended questions to get to know them, see where their head's at, see what they want to talk about, see what's on their mind, or a good one to start with, if you're not comfortable with this right away, is asking them, what made them want to get the service done in the first place? What brought you in today? Have you tried this service before? This is something I usually ask a first-time client if they haven't seen me before. Hey, have you tried lash extensions before? And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. And then it gives them an opportunity to share a little bit more why they booked that service. No, I haven't done lash extensions before, but I'm going out of town. I'm going on a trip to Italy with my family, and I thought this would be a good idea. I was recommended to do it by so-and-so. So now okay, this person's going out of town. There's so much information that can happen when you ask those open-ended questions. And so I highly suggest this is something that you can, narrow in on if you're not very good with your consultations or your intros. I also call them, because consultation and intros, they mesh together, right? We're having an introduction when we're inviting them into our space and telling them, hey, if you want to put your stuff down there, and then you can talk to them about the service, right? So that consultation and intro, really, they go together. This is definitely something that I feel like more service providers could get a little bit better with. I've been a manager places, and I've obviously been a business owner and had staff, and have seen where people don't where they're not very good with this, or we become lazy with this, or we become complacent with it. But if this is something that you can get down and early on and kind of get a good rhythm of, you are going to be so much happier as a business owner. And then you're going to also be happier as a service provider, because more than half of that work of finding out facts about your clients, or finding out information, or finding out whatever, or getting feedback or what have you, it can all be done with those questions in that consultation and in that intro. So there's a lot that can be done there. If you need help with this, I can totally help you out with it. Book a one-on-one with me, and we can narrow in on how to continue to practice this on not only by yourself, but I can give you ways and tips to, what opening questions work really well and so forth. I will put that link in the show notes if you want to book a one-on-one with me. So, but connection is really how I jumped from $1,200 to $5,000, and then I went on from there. So I kept on growing. But that first month where I went from $1,200 to $5,000, now mind you, all of a sudden my books were full. All of a sudden I was becoming more popular with people, and people were recommending me. And so there was, and obviously a shift that happened schedule-wise. But then obviously seeing that much more client load happen, it really was like life-changing when it came to making the money that I was really wanting to make. And a lot of that happened because I figured out my connection points. I figured out what was it that my clients really wanted to hear in order for them to not only make that connection with me, in order to trust me to be their service provider, but why are they actually getting that service done? What are they wanting me to tell them to have them book with me, right? To have them say, what, Heidi is my service provider. I'm definitely going to go to her. I was recommended, or I saw her in this place, or she showed up over here, or wow, that really resonated with me, or I felt included. So connection is really where it's at. Of course, diversify your marketing. If you have been listening to my podcast, or tuning in on Instagram, or checking out my website, however you have been part of my ecosystem, so to speak, you know that I'm all about diversifying your marketing plan. So doing online and in person. You can't just do one way of marketing and think it's going to bring in clients, right? But what I will say is, once you've figured out your messaging when it comes to connection and things like that, it doesn't matter if you're doing it in person or online, it is going to help you to figure that out. It is going to assist you in all the words. It's going to assist you in when you're stuck and you're I don't know what to say, because you know that you can rely on those connection points, and you can rely on that, okay, this is probably why this client is coming. Or you can always ask those open-ended questions, especially when you're doing in-person marketing. So if you're doing an event or a pop-up event, that's kind of the one that I feel comes to mind a lot for me. Or if you're just trying to foster a connection with another business owner, asking open-ended questions is really, really helpful, because it obviously lets them know that you're curious about getting to know either them, the business, the connection, or why they came to the event, or what have you. It depends on who you're talking to. But it just shows that you're curious. It shows that you want more information. It shows you want to converse, things like that. So I definitely think that this is something that most business owners, we become, like I said earlier, a little bit complacent with, a little bit shy of, because it is something that you have to put a little bit of time and effort into. But I always tell people when they're trying to figure this out and I'm coaching them, why did you get into the beauty industry? So what made you want to become a beauty professional? What made you want to work in the beauty industry? What attracted you to even start in this field? And sometimes when you answer that question, you can start to pull from that of where that connection point is for you and that service. And then you can start asking the question of how does my service fix my client's problem? Right? And think of it like that. I know it's thinking, using the word problem sometimes is a little funny for people, but think of it as how am I solving this client's problem in a way of I gave you the answer early, or the example earlier of my client's going on vacation to Italy and she just wants carefree lashes. Well, that's a problem. She didn't want to have to deal with her mascara and her lashes being something that she has to do on that trip. She just wants to be carefree. She's going to be busy. It's one thing that she doesn't want to think about. So that's a problem that I'm solving for her. So it doesn't have to be like a problem of like, I have acne and I have all these things. And don't think of it like that. Think of it as like, how am I making that client's, day easier? How is my service uplifting them? How is it? So really start to dive into that too, because those conversation points are going to happen that way, and you can say that maybe you're at a pop-up event and there's a lot of people there that are like, maybe it's like a wedding focused event. Well, there's connection points with weddings and getting services done. So think about the verbiage that you want to use and to open that conversation up when you're talking to people that are coming in the event and coming to your table. But it's all about that connection, right? Of like, I understand you. I know what you want from my service, and I'm here for you because I'm that person, and I know I'll take care of you, and you'll be happy. That's really what a client wants to feel, right? They want to feel that connection. They want to feel that clarity. The other thing I want you to focus on is, how are you unique compared to another service provider? Because this helps with connection as well. So, you need to display yourself as that, I don't know, answer to their problem, right? You need to display yourself as like, hey, I know I am the person for you. I have been doing this a long time, or this is what I'm good at, or people rave about me, or how are you unique? How would somebody else describe you? So start thinking about that. I definitely notice whenever I do coaching sessions with people, this is something that a lot of people don't know how to answer. Because it's definitely one of the things I ask everybody when I first start coaching them is, what makes you unique? Why should somebody book you rather than somebody else? And I don't know why this is a question that people have a hard time answering. And obviously we work through it. I help them work through how to answer that. I draw it out of you, so to speak. But it tends to be something that people have a hard time explaining, or they don't know how to talk about themselves. So if you're in that moment, what I would suggest is either asking somebody that has done your service with you and ask them about their experience and get feedback from people, right? So if you have clients, ask for feedback. And I suggest you doing that anyway, but this is a good opportunity to do that. And you don't necessarily need to ask them for feedback because of anything other than, hey, I just want to check in with you, see how I'm doing, see where I can improve on. How was your last experience with me? How would you describe your service? Blah, 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 blah. And I highly suggest you doing this after people's first appointments and periodically as people see you, because once again, it gives that opportunity for them to voice their concerns, voice things they are happy with, gives them an opportunity for you to open that door and open that communication. But this is your opportunity to find out, hey, what am I good at? What am I known for? What are the words that people are using when they describe me and my services? So this is why I would suggest that. Or another thing you could do is just write things out. So thought mapping. So whatever comes to mind when you're describing yourself in your own head even, or what do you want to be known for? Maybe this is a part where you can start dreaming of like, hey, right now I'm not known for this, but I'm working towards this, and this is what I really want to be known for. So this is a good opportunity for you to self-reflect a little bit, good opportunity for you to really get narrowed in on this, because I promise you, this is going to help when it comes to marketing. This is going to help when it comes to in-person conversations. This is going to help when it comes to attracting clients much faster. This is going to help when it comes to jumping from those, $1,200 a month or less, jumping up to $5,000+ a month, right? So this is also like kind of where the secret is when it comes to if somebody's marketing isn't hitting, or if you're really not connecting, or, if your clients don't necessarily know why you do what you do. So it's all about connection. It's all about, telling people, hey, this is what I do, this is what I'm really good at, and this is where you can book with me, right? Okay, so I hope this helps you. I know that I went on and on and on. No, I'm just kidding. This is definitely something that you should focus on. So I hope you can get a pen and paper out, or get your notes out on your phone, however you like to take notes, or however you like to, think about things, and, really get it in and really start to do that work. But I highly suggest, if you have not focused on this in your business yet, this is definitely a game changer when it comes to to attracting more clients in the door and also keeping them coming back, okay? That connection is where it's at. So I also want you guys to look in the show notes for that one-on-one booking. If you haven't already, join my free training. That's a great place to start if you have not gotten the opportunity to do that yet. I will also leave that. And of course, next week, a new episode comes out on Wednesday. Thank you for listening. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or tip that you can use immediately. My episodes come out weekly, so I'll see you in the next episode.